Doop-a-doop-a-doop. Look at the state of me. I look like a 1960s hair model. Got the quiff going on. What the? Look at the... Rhino horn. Wow. You'd land an airplane on that forehead. Kind of cool. I haven't seen it in 6 months. I look like Megamind. Hewitt. I look like... Anyway. No one's going to be able to see that if they're listening. So it's going to be pointless doing all these sound effects. If you can't see me, then you need to go to my YouTube and press subscribe for consistent, inconsistent content. Yeah, that works. Anyway, right, off track. People have been saying to me, Tim, intros, too long. And already I can see 2.5 minutes of doing nothing but looking at myself. I say, yes, okay. Intros are too long. The people have spoken, and I have heard them. I know what to do. We do 2 intros! We have an intro to an intro. I suppose you could say a special edition intro. And there's a very important reason for needing 2 intros. Don't worry, this isn't going to be a regular thing. But I've broken protocol for this episode. Because I've brought forward an episode that shouldn't have been out for another 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and I've jumped to the head of 2 other podcasts. And you say, whoa, Tim, bro, you can't do that. That's breaking the law. What law? The law you made, which is worse than the normal law. There was a particular reason. I had to do it. This is a special episode. And it's special for this reason. The day after we recorded this podcast, this man got engaged. Yes. Engaged. 20 years of age. And I knew I had to use the energy around that. I did the original intro directly after the podcast, so I'm full of emotion. But it's cool because it catches a sort of authenticity of how I felt around it. And then when as the week went on, I was like, man, getting engaged is massive. I need to bring this episode forward. I have to. It's too monumental a moment in a young person's life to just allow it to come out naturally. So, the episode with Kevin Kophamel being brought forward. Now, before the main intro starts, I want to push this point. I want you to share and subscribe and push this podcast out like crazy. This is a young king from a small town in Tipperary called Clonmel that has taken a massive step out into the big bad world, and he's killing it. This is one of our own. This is our homebirds. This is our bread and butter. This is as organic as it comes. When you're looking for local talent, local potential, we have it here. He's one of your own. He is from anyone from Clonmel listen to that, or anyone who knows him. This is one of your boys having a go for it. And I want you to support him. Get onto his page, follow him. Support him in his career. Support him as he goes forward. He's got a lot of big steps taken in a very short space of time, and he's handling them extremely well. I want this podcast to be push. Let's support one of our own boys who's going for it. Just like some of my earlier podcasts with young stars, we've got a little snapshot into the career of potentially a major player. You need to contribute to the energy around him and to the people that are rooting for him, and to get his name going, and to get people aware of what's going on, so that people talk about him, people keep track of what he's getting up to. And when he does well, you push him on further, and when he falls, you're there to support him and to pick him up and to put him back on the horse. Similar to the likes of Kevin Fahey and Ross Peters behind Pro Recovery. Similar to Jamie and Evan with his 2 businesses. There's people around us who are making a go for it, and it's vital you support them. There's countless others that just I don't have off the top of my head, but when you have the opportunity to push your local faces forward, you should take it. So, intro 10 before intro 11 of episode 10 with Kevin Kophamel. Right, I just had a sick podcast there with Kevin Kophamel. Kevin Kophamel is a young man, only 20 years of age, who packed up all his things, moved to Australia, and dedicated himself to training. And the world has just sort of opened up for him when he's been out there, and he's had one thing after another has come to him, and it's built him up in his life out there. I don't usually do the episodes. I don't usually do the intros for the episodes this soon after. Like I literally just went from the podcast to here, but man, the emotion is so high at the minute. It was a really engaging podcast for me. Kevin he's one of the most courageous men I could probably point to at the minute. He's only young, but he's got this faith in Christianity and God that he is bold about, and he's brave with it, and he's courageous in the way he talks about it, and he's not ashamed of it, and I respect him for that. I really respect him for that. You don't see that very often, and it's a mark of his character. Because the whole thing was just going to be a conversation, getting over him back, catching up to him. Because you see, I've known this fella since he was a child, almost since he was just above a toddler. Because he was in my primary school, my mother used to teach him. He went to my church. All these different factors. I've watched him grow, and man, I've watched him develop. It's incredible to watch, and it's unexpected. I never imagined him to blossom and to flourish into this sort of alpha male that he's become. And like even now, I'm still texting with him now. He told me a few more things off camera that I'm now going over and back with him, and incredible. And like, oh man, his plans are amazing, and what he's got going on, and his frame of mind is really unusual. It's really mature. I don't know how it's all going to work out for him. He's rare. I haven't seen people with his level of thought and his level of motivation and his level of humility that he's carrying. It's a rare trait. If anyone's going to achieve what they're going for, I hope it's Kevin. And I imagine it is people like Kevin. So we get into it. His move to Australia, why he moved, his fighting out there, the fights that he's had, his health, his nutrition, he does all his nutrition and his weight cuts. He does it all himself now. He's opened up about how he takes all the information from all the experts, but to craft it and to create your own personalized system is very, very advanced, and it's very smart. And he's effectively all self-taught in this now. He's doing college out there. He's traveling around. He's having fun. He's doing what he wants. He's a role model, and he's only 20. I'm getting motivation from him. He's inspiring me. He's living a life that I'd love to live. In my eyes, he's achieved so much already, and he's only 20. Man, I want him to succeed so much. So Rambleland episode 10 with Kevin Kophamel. Kevin. Kevin, bro, it is great to see you, man. It's been too long.
It's good to see you too, man. 100%. Hey,
how are you keeping?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just finished a week of nice rest from my fight on Eternal MMA. So I was just had a nice week of just very little training, enjoying myself, kind of like eating what food I want to eat, just chilling and stuff, because I just finished a big fight camp and everything. So yeah,
was that the Canadian gangster?
That was Logan Murray. So yeah.
No, that's the one. I watched your fight, man. I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, man, it was a sick fight. It was a sick fight. Like first round finish, man. That was a beautiful.
No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, no, it went well. That was kind of the game plan. Kind of like I was kind of like respecting his wrestling to a good extent. He's like a national Canadian wrestler. So he's like I knew he'd be good at that in previous fights. He's like really shot like for low takedowns and stuff. So just knew that was coming and wanted to like put pressure on, and then like just get a quick finish, and then it's kind of exactly what happened. So
man, you in comparison to him though, he looked like a child in comparison to you. You're in fantastic shape.
Oh, dude, it's the weight cut, man. It's like that's at bantamweight. So
Yeah.
that's 61.2 kilos.
Yeah.
I cut a lot. I cut a bit of weight to get to that. So I'll be walking around like, depending on how lean I am, or like how much training I've been doing, how healthy I've been eating. Like a good weight for me walking around at is probably 68 or 69
Okay.
kilos. Right now I'm about 70, 71.
Yeah.
And then I have my 6 week, 8 week, 10 week fight camp. And within that time frame, I do different things to eventually come down to a certain weight. And then I start my weight cutting, basically like protocol. And then I go through like 2, 3 weeks, very, very focused on what I'm eating and how I'm training. And then that last week before the fight, it's just all about the weigh-ins.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, I just do lots of different things to manipulate my weight. And then I have my weigh-ins, and then I have a 24-hour period to rehydrate before the fight. So there's a lot of different like scientific things that I can do in that period to manipulate the weight pretty much, because I don't walk around at 61.2 kilos, you know.
That is it is very light.
Um,
But it was more than that though, like because you've got definition, you've got muscle mass that you cut to that he didn't have,
Yeah.
and like he
Yeah.
looked like a child in comparison to you. It looked like it was an amateur
Yeah,
coming in
no,
against
yeah,
a light pro,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Like, I think he'd be good at a lower weight category as well. I think he wouldn't walk around too high above that weight division.
Okay.
But yeah, I do lots of training. Like, I do lots of strength and conditioning as well. So I think when I do that cut, it's actually pretty easy in terms of my muscle mass, because I hold on to a lot of water, because I have like quite a lot of muscle, so I can drop more water weight at the end. And then like once I hit the scales at that weight, like I just rehydrate, and by the time I step into the actual cage, I'm a lot heavier than what I was for the weigh-in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what most like kind of like elite guys will do, especially like pros and like UFC and stuff. That's how they cut the weight, and they put loads back on before the actual fight, you know. But he was still very good. He felt strong. Like he may not have looked that big. He felt very strong, and he did manage to like throw me down to the ground at the very start.
He
I don't know
did,
if you
yeah.
saw that. Yeah, I was really surprised by that, man. I was like on the floor, and I was like, whoa. I just had to
It,
get up real quick.
it was a big throw as well. Like it was a proper
Yeah,
throw. Like your legs kind of
yeah,
sprawled and you hit the ground pretty hard.
yeah. I threw a knee just before that, and
You
as I
did, and
threw
he
my
caught the
knee,
knee. And
he
the commentator
did.
actually said
Yeah,
that as well. He goes, "You don't throw knees against Murray."
yeah. That's exactly it. But
Yeah. The I'm just conscious now. I hear a little bit of interference, so if that keeps coming back, I might pause it for 2 seconds, and we'll see if we can get a pair of earphones or something just to take out that. It's stopped now at the minute, but it's just something I'm going to
no worries,
watch
man.
for. Um,
No worries, man.
the thing is, so there's a few funny things about that fight. Because first of all, do you know who else watched that fight? I made her sit down and be like, "Hey, do you remember Kevin Kophamel?" And she goes, "Oh, I do. Yeah, I do." Do you have any idea who I'm gonna say I made watch the fight?
No.
My mother. I was
Really?
like,
What do you have
"Yeah,
to say about it?
Mom, do you remember Kevin Kophamel?" And she goes, "I do. Of course I do. Yes, yes." I was like, "Hey, watch this." I put it on, and she goes, "Oh my God, it's Kevin! It's Kevin!
Oh, stop.
Kevin!" But I just remember he was. Oh my goodness! Oh
That's
my
hilarious,
goodness!
man. I
Where
could
is
just
he?
imagine as well.
He's got a wolf. Is that a wolf on him? Tim, is that a wolf on him?
Oh,
And I was like,
that's
yeah, man, that's Kevin. He's
that's
down in
that's
Australia kicking people in the head for a living.
oh, stop, man. That's
Savage,
brilliant. That's
man.
brilliant.
She was tripping
Legit.
out because for her it was a big moment because she taught you back in school. And so she hasn't
Yeah,
seen you in
yeah.
years. And she just remembers this
That's
good little
crazy.
student used to be so careful coloring in around the lines. And
That's
I'm just like, yeah,
crazy.
he's killing people now.
Oh, stop, man. Stop. It's all about the foundation.
It,
The foundation. Yeah,
Foundation,
exactly.
man, foundation.
Exactly.
So tell me, where did that fall in terms of your fight so far?
What do you mean?
How many
As
fights have
in,
you had in Australia since you moved?
I've had four. I've had four amateur fights. So I made my amateur debut with Eternal MMA, which
Yeah,
is pretty much the equivalent of like Cage Legacy.
yeah.
I think it's called. Is it Cage? Okay, sorry, Cage Warriors. back home in Ireland. So it's like the equivalent kind of like level promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was in a smaller venue called the Italian Club. And then following that fight, that was a hell of a fight. It was like 3 rounds as well. Got the decision win, and that was like straight in. Like for my first debut, it was like lots of adrenaline. Like it was like very full on, good atmosphere. And then following that, I had 2 more fights. I fought Abdallah El Tigani. I was a real tall dude. That was a hell of a fight as well. I lost that one via decision though, unfortunately. Not sure. Have you seen that one at all? It's on YouTube.
I don't remember watching that one. No, was that on YouTube as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's worth a watch, man. He's real tall. He's 6'2". He got like had like 20 centimeter height and reach advantage on me, and
Oh
it
my
was
goodness.
he was long, man, and he broke my nose and cut up my eye with like a flying knee in the fight as well. And then after that point, I was just like, stuff this, man. I was like, I'm going for him. Sorry, that's just my dog.
No bother, no bother. And so it turned
After
into an
that,
absolute dogfight.
oh yeah, it was good. I got his back in the last round, but like, it's a good fight to watch, I think. Following that, I had probably my favorite performance was my second last fight against Wade McConnell.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good all-round fighter, really good striker, lots of boxing. And he trained in like gyms over in America as well. Like I'm pretty sure with like John Jones, stuff like that. I'm not sure how that all works, but his brother's really big on the MMA scene as well. And like he had done bits with him, and he's like, I knew it was going to be a good fight, like really high paced, and that was I got to finish in the 3rd round, and that was just a real fun fight as well. It's also on YouTube. And then yeah, the last one, just the most previous one, you saw that. That was a nice quick finish as well. So 4 fights in.
I'm going to pause you for 2 seconds because that interference keeps coming back. Have you a pair of earphones that you could plug
I
in?
do. I
Right, 2
do.
seconds. I'm going to grab mine. Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Can you still see me?
I can still see you.
Excellent. All's good. Right, so sorry about that. So 4 fights all in Australia, 3 wins, 1 loss,
Yeah.
and all with the same gym. You're training out of what's it again? At Perth, the Wolf's Den.
Wolves Den Perth, yeah. So it was called Mac 1 FC, so
Yeah.
M1 FC. But it's the same gym. But my head coach Steve Walton, he has ownership of it now, and it's called Wolves Den Perth.
Okay.
So yeah.
Right. So when did you move to Australia? Because the last time I was talking to you, I think, man, was it Lonergan's or somewhere real random like that?
I was literally telling my girlfriend about this, like I'd say a few days ago, because when you asked me to come on the podcast, I was trying to explain like who you were to me, like how we were friends, and I was just thinking, I was like, the last time that we were chatting, I was like, it was in a pub, wasn't it, or something? And I was like telling her about just how well we clicked, like just full conversation. I was like, it's so funny that I had that good of a memory of that in that location. And I was just like, and we're just picking up straight where we left off, like just it's
Yeah,
good.
man. It was just instant, and but you see, there was just so much history had already gone on that it's a weird moment, like where you meet someone that you grew up with, but they're an adult. Because it was one of the first times, like when I was talking to you, I was like, oh my days, like I'm speaking to an adult here. Kevin's not a child anymore. This isn't a young student that just happened to be in our church and in my primary school. This is a man, like he's a fighter. He's got his own personality, his own emotions, his own thoughts. He knows where he's going. He's got drive. And we just clicked as soon as we were chatting, like we got clicked. And I was watching all your movements, man. And I was hearing from SPG that your jiu-jitsu was getting sick and your stand-up was sick and you're rolling all the time with Frankie and stuff. I was like, oh my days, Kevin's on for it. Like Kevin's going places. And then you moved to Australia.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's going for it. Kevin's hedging his bets and he's going for it.
Yeah, man. So like it all came out of nowhere, really. Like the decision to come to Australia was real fast. Like there wasn't loads of thought put into it. It was just to be like a year out, to spend some time in Australia. I was coming over on a working holiday visa just for 1 year, and I had full intentions to come home as well after that year. And then I came over here, and obviously I'm now living here for a year. So at the start, it felt like a holiday. And then I soon realized, I was like, okay, I'm still here for a full year. So I need to kind of like get a job, do a few things, kind of like be able to like support myself, be on my feet. Cause I'm living with my brother. He's been living here for 6 years. So like that was fine. It's not like I needed to pay for a place to stay or anything. So I was just kind of like, just over here seeing what opportunities arose for myself. And then after the holiday kind of period wore off, a lot of just like really cool things started happening in terms of like training in the gym that I was training in. So yeah, just in the time that I came to Australia was a big time for me in terms of like transformation, in terms of like who I am as a person and why. So I was at a bad stage of questioning what I'm doing with my life and why and where my priorities lie. And then the big one that got answered was coming over here was putting my trust in God and actually having a faith with God. Because I've always grown up kind of like calling myself a Christian, but never having an actual relationship myself with God and understanding what that means. And I think when you say it like that, it's a bit like, oh, what's he chatting about? But my brother's a Christian, and he kind of started just exploring these avenues with me. And at the start, I was a bit like, I don't want to hear that. Like, don't give me that kind of religious stuff.
Don't be preaching.
And I felt like, look, I appreciate you letting me live here and you supporting me and just being there for me, but don't give me that religious stuff. Like, don't preach to me. I don't need it. And what I slowly started to realize was like how much my brother cared about certain things, and then other things he didn't really have a care about. And what I started noticing was how content, happy, confident, and peaceful he was all the time. And it started to really get under my skin. And I was like, he's like a religious goody two shoes. Like how is he okay with everything all the time? And I was pushing his buttons, man. So I was like, I'm still young, right? And I was like pushing his buttons, trying to get under his skin. And I couldn't get through to him. And then eventually, one day I was like, look, why are you still just doing all these things for me? And he was like, man, like, I've wanted to punch you in the face so many times, Kevin, but God has just put it on my heart to just care for you and be there for you, right? And when he said that to me again, I was just like, okay, right, I don't understand, but I was like, okay, left it at that. And then for the first time in my life, I actually like started to like be open to the idea of like not just religion and like information, but like, right, if there's actually a God, even though I've been open to that idea for my life, I was like, what does that mean for me and how does that change my life? Because like what impact does a Bible or any relationship with a God, anything like that, how does that change my life? You know, what does that mean for me in today's day and age? And basically I started looking at the Bible, looking at who Jesus was, looking at all these things to see how credible it was. Because for me to believe in something, I need to have like good information. I need to know. I need to bank on it. I'm not gonna believe in something that I can't bank on. And then things that really stood out to me was like the amount of historical evidence on the Bible and the credibility of written records of a man named Jesus Christ. And we all will believe and say, oh, Caesar existed, right? Because of the written records, and that's what we base, like, we have history books that talk about him. But the amount of written records of Jesus Christ is tenfold that of Caesar. And they're written in periods of time that's way shorter than that of Caesar as well. So it's like, from a really like physical, evidential point of view, it's pretty outstanding. You can't like historians that like they can't look at the Bible and look at the evidence and say, oh, nah, it's worthless, you know? So they can't argue with that. So I was like, okay, that's just that. I'll push that to the side. Then I started to be open to the idea of like, right, what's this whole spiritual thing about? I don't get it. So I would like try and pray. And I felt like an idiot. It's like, who am I talking to? What I'm chatting like to no one. This is so weird, right? And I remember being very clear and being like, look, God, if you're there, I know I'm not meant to test you or whatever this is, but I need a sign to know. If you're working in my life right now, I need a sign to know that you exist. Dude, the second after that prayer, man, like the amount of things that unfolded in my life that I just knew that no one could tell me different. It's not like, oh, that's a coincidence. Too many things happen, and I knew in my heart that God existed, and that's something that no one can ever take away from me, and it's something I can never fully explain. But since I've put my faith in Him, and that's just a relationship, the same way I'll have a friend, and like
Yes.
chat to my friend, understand things about them. I let them into parts of my life. I know parts about their life. I trust on them. That's a relationship. Having that with God, the creator of everything, is something it's so amazing. And when you understand it, it's not information, it's transformation. And honestly, I could try and take credit for anything that happened since I came to Australia. But dude, it's all been blessings. Like every single way I've turned, it's been God's hand. And that's why, like, in everything I do, whether it's my training, whether it's my job as a coach in the gym that I train in, which is just crazy, whether it's my fighting, like going out and fighting in a cage, just the way I treat people, like it's all from Him. And I just want to glorify Him in the way that I do all of that. And that's what's changed my life, man.
Kevin,
Yeah.
man, oh my days, boy. That was beautiful to listen to. You've got
Thank you.
real courage. And let me tell you, like, there's a lot of people can get into a cage and fight people. And there's a lot of people who look at that and say, there's no way, I don't have the balls to do that. There's a different level of bravery that comes from talking about these kind of topics. Katie Taylor is one of the most prominent people that comes to my mind when you discuss these kind of things. She doesn't open her mouth without praising God for whatever she's just won or whatever she's doing. And I always used to look at her with absolute admiration because for all my prowess and for all my internal bravery, I've asked myself, if I was in that position, would I be able to do that? Would I have the balls to be like, no, man, it's all God. I believe, and this is what I believe, and this is why I believe. And man, I remember for years and years growing up being like, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to, for whatever weird fear that it would end my career or take something away from my achievements or it would make me feel less confident. I don't know what I was scared of, but I was scared of something. And then I sort of came to the realization where it's like, nah, man, like this is your truth. This is things I genuinely believe in, and you got to stand over it. And you got to be like, look, if you look at me, you got to know what you're looking at. And I can't have one face out here portraying a particular opinion and keep this real important, deep-rooted emotional connection I have to this belief covered up. And so I began to embrace it. But there's very few people who are like that out there. But you've just come on, and in the first 10 minutes, you have given a beautiful, confident, very courageous testimony to what you believe. And that is an absolute credit to you, Kevin. That is an absolute credit because you've admitted a couple of very close personal things, such as the relationship with your brother, the testing of God, and then the ultimate coming to believe in it. There's some major moments there. Some really, really major moments. And like, first of all, thank you for sharing.
No worries, man. Not at all.
There's people who are already going to be looking to turn off this podcast because like Timmy on another one of his religious rants, we're not having it. No,
dude, like it's practical. It's so practical. Like I just wanna say one thing on that. When you talk about like people don't like hearing this,
they
like
hate
this
it.
kind of talk, right? And it's because of one or two reasons. And when you're talking about like being able to embrace it, that's tough because of the two things that happen when people hear it. So like either one, they hear it and are convicted of their own kind of like their own sin or their own just not having whatever you're talking about, right? And they kind of like run away from it type thing, right? As far away as you can. And I did that when I came over here. I did that. I was like, get away from me. Don't want any of it. And then the second thing that happens is like, if you hear it and you kind of like, you're open to it and you give it the time of day, the same as you would anything. You give it the time of day, and you just kind of let it settle, and you make yourself vulnerable to that idea. And next thing, that's when God does his work. And like, what I found is, for me, I'll take fighting, for example, right? That's something that I couldn't understand how God would fit into my life if I fight and I hurt people, right? So how do I do that? How do I call myself a Christian, love others, and I hurt people, right? This kind of thing. And it's a big thing that I was like, here, how does this work? Am I meant to quit MMA type thing? I think people have these fears of having to give up things, that having a relationship with God means you have to give up things that you like and give up things that you hold on to, right? And it's actually not that at all. Like, the reason we feel like that and we get convicted is God doesn't want to take away all these things in your life. He just wants to remove whatever is between you and him. That's anything that separates you and him. And if you let him into that avenue, if you have all these little rooms in your house, all these little places that you like want to close the door, don't let God into, right? He'll keep knocking at the door. But if you open up that door and you let him in, it's like, especially when you don't really know him, it's like a stranger. It's like, oh, I don't really know. But if you get to know God and then you let him in, man, he does things that you never would have thought. Like, so for my fights, like, just an example, I used to be really a big fan of like Mike Tyson's, kind of like beat them before you step into the ring, kind of like mental battle. Like, and I'd be angry before I fought. I would take so much emotion from past experiences, like things that have happened to me in my life, and I would put it into my fight, and I would like envision those things on the guy I'm fighting, and that's where it came from, right? And it's actually a really awful way to like treat someone or fight, right? Because it's like anger. It's not nice, right? And even when it comes to weigh-ins and things like that, and I'm looking at this guy in front of me, I'd make him an enemy, right? And if I won or I lost, if I won, I would take all the glory for myself, like I did it, right? And it would build my ego. And if I lost, I would have to swallow that pill of like every bit of like ego that I put on before that fight. I've just lost, and that's what defines me, right?
Yeah.
But since I've found this relationship with God, right? When it comes to my whole fight camp and how I'm treating people in it, despite what I'm going through, like feeling tired, feeling hungry, feeling drained, coming up to the fight, the person I'm going to fight, right? Like, they're all blessings from God, like having those abilities, having that opportunity to train, and then having the opportunity to compete and kind of like be a witness for God on a big global stage, like on YouTube or in front of loads of people, right? So am I going to act the way that all these other fighters act and like walk out to really hard music that like, look at me, I'm the shit, look at me, I'm the shit, I'm gonna F you up, like stand in front of you, like all this kind of stuff, right? For the first time, I remember I was like, look, God, like, I don't want to look at this guy like an enemy and fight out of anger, but I want to fight, I want to do MMA, don't take that away from me. So like, show me how you want me to do it, right? And I remember for a
good
week,
question. That was a good way of putting it.
Yeah. So a week up to one of these fights, one of the first times, I was like, right, God, I want to do this whole process with you. I was reading, I just have a Bible app, and every day there's a different verse, right? Just one verse out of the Bible. And for each day, for a week, coming up to the fight, there were different verses. And people can say, oh, it's coincidence, oh, it's this, it's that. Every single one of them had a relation to my fight, right? Whether it's like, blessed be the Lord my God, who prepares my hands for battle, and all this kind of stuff, right? And I was like, okay, that's interesting, right? And then there's ones that like talking about being like led forth in peace, like walking out in joy, and like the trees will clap their hands, and the hills and the mountains will burst into song. That's like walking out and the crowd's going crazy, right?
That's the stadium.
And I'm reading this, right? And I'm like, okay, so this is clearly what God wants me to do. I was like, right. So I remember praying before my weigh in. And I walked in, and this guy looked like he hated me. Like he looked so angry, right? And I was like, I was nervous. I was like, man, like I don't want to be angry this time. And I was like, you know what? I was like, God, like help me to just love on this guy and respect him, even though I'm going to compete. The same way you'd want to like dump tackle someone in rugby, make a hard collision, and you don't want to hurt them, but the aim of the game is that it's in the parameters of the game.
It's all business, man. There's nothing personal.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So I stood in front of him for the weigh-in, and I remember I said, good luck. And I shook his hand. And I remember he was a bit shocked when I did that. And then he looked at me and he was like pulling his face like he wanted to clock me. I remember I just stood in front of him and I felt really excited. And I was smiling. I was like, this is really exciting, right? And we left it at that. And for the first time in my life, I had done a weigh-in and I didn't feel pressure like to perform because I like did all this stuff. I was just like, I'm excited to go. And I felt calm as a breeze. And then come to the fight night, I chose like a kind of worship song / it's a rap song as well. It's a bit of a mix, right? But it starts off as a worship song. And again, just before I walked out, it started playing. And usually you're thinking about the fight. You're thinking about, what if I get knocked out? What if everyone, all my fans, my family see me? What if I lose? I've been training for 10 weeks. What if I get embarrassed? What if this? And the anxiety is kicking in. And I'm there and my walkout song plays, right? And straight away, absolute calm, absolute peace. And I'm like, why should I be afraid of a person that can hurt my body when I have a relationship with God? Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, even if I win or lose, it doesn't define me. It doesn't matter. God's got a plan for me. Like, so I can go out here and I can have fun. I can enjoy the moment and trust in God's plan. And I'll walk out like absolutely calm. And I enjoyed every single moment of it. Had the best performance of my life. And I loved it. I loved it. And it was the first time I didn't feel pressure and I didn't like feel like I had to get the knockout and like everyone's watching me. I just loved the whole process. And I remember thanking God so much for that opportunity. So like every time I go out to fight now, like that's what I want to do. So I have a Christian walkout song every time. Like I will always try and give respect to the guy I'm fighting and stuff, and I don't have any of that like envy or bitterness towards him, because it's a sport, man. It's like if you see two teams like playing rugby or something, like, or just anything like soccer, like you don't want to see guys like being like horrible, like dirty little shots and things like that. Like you want to see a respectful game. So even though it's fighting, like it doesn't need to be any different, you know.
Big time. You see, and that's, you see, there's a lot of good aspects. You see, the thing is as well is that like when you watch fighters and sport and listen to sports psychologists and people who come to the top, a lot of the most calm and controlled people are the ones that win. And what you've inadvertently done, you see, someone would say, oh man, you need to get to that place anyway. You don't need God to get there. It's all in your mind. You're lying to yourself. You're tricking yourself. God isn't real, but placebo makes you think that all this is coming together. And to those people, they don't want to believe and they're not looking to believe, and so leave them off, whatever. But what you've done is you've actually come to that place of peace, that ultimate control that comes from like, some people may fight for years and never actually feel that control, never get to that level of containment, but you've achieved it because you've allowed yourself not to be the sole reason behind your control. You've said, this is on God. I'm leaving my worries and my cares with God. And after that, who can hurt me? You know, and that's some of the biggest biblical philosophies is about leaving your cares and your worries with Jesus. And after that, you know, the pressure really is off.
Yeah, it takes the weight off.
It does take the weight off. But you have to remember, man, that the entire Old Testament of the Bible is made up of men of war. Man, like God didn't make man like they weren't able to fight. Like God made humans that had the capability to engage in warfare and to engage in combat, and it was absolutely necessary. You know, God called his people to war time and time and time and time again. And man, this is, you see, we get the sugar-coated version of what war must have been like. First of all, the direct image of war is never put on the forefront. It's you know, God brought the victory to Israel in battle. And you say, oh, yay, it was all singing and dancing. You have to sort of visualize what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I'm reading through the book of Judges again at the minute, and it's an absolute horrific book. There is war after war after war. There's assassinations, there's conspiracies, there's beheading, there's torture, and all carried out by God's people in the name of, well, in the name of God, effectively. And there's brutal, brutal acts in this. The Israelites wiped out entire civilizations. They didn't leave anyone alive in these cities. They burned these places to the ground. Like, you have to think about the corpses and the blood and the dismembered bodies. And this is the reality. This is who God was choosing to be his people. Like, King David, like, would have killed wild animals growing up with his bare hands. And if you were to kill a wild animal, like, that's a bloody scene. You have to destroy this animal. You have to break its neck, tear its head off, do whatever you have to do to kill this thing. They're not men of peace. The Bible doesn't look to men of peace to lead the way. And even when you think about, like, Jesus was a carpenter. He spent 30 years as a carpenter. Jesus was a big, strong, tough man. And this watered down image that we get from modern day religion, that you have to be this nice, soft, loving person that doesn't hurt anybody, that's not Christianity, man. That's not what the Bible's talking about. That's not who the Bible chooses to lead. And you see, if you're able to come out and you're able to be a representation of how Jesus would expect you to treat the people that you're going into combat with, that's what's most important here, is that you're able to treat them with respect and not fall into this hatred, into this bitterness towards people that, at the end of the day, as you said, it's just a sport. It's effectively for fun. It's to stay fit. It's to stay challenging yourself. And I've come to that as well, where it's like, how do you weigh up being what we imagine a Christian life should look like with the lifestyles that we engage in? Because even things like the nightclub security that I'd be doing, people, like some church people were like, oh, that's a bit of a scumbag job. That couldn't be in line with the Bible. How is he doing this? Even things like tattoos and the way I kind of talk, and like, man, I on camera, I always try and correct my speech, but I have a bit of a problem with cursing. And if my parents are listening to this, like, they're going to be horrified by this. I think they already kind of know that I'm real careful around them, but like, I don't even catch myself a lot of the time, and you have to weigh it up. It's like, you just have to be honest with it. At the end of the day, you just have to be honest with the life you're living, and you have to hold up your hands to the wrong things you do. And you just have to take courage in things that God forgives us. And every time we apologize for what we do, it's taken seriously. And so, like, it was interesting because when I watched your fight against Murray, the commentator before the fight started talked about your spirituality and how you try and balance not wanting to hurt people with fighting. And they made a joke about how they don't see how that works out or whatever. And this is the reality, is that the public opinion of Christianity versus the public opinion of what is expected in a fighter, they clash. But people like you come along and you live the reality, the new reality of how you can merge the two together. And the likes of Katie Taylor, the likes of you, people who have the bravery and the courage to come forward and do it, well, man, they're the kind of people that the Bible talks about. The Bible didn't tell these people, don't kill your enemies. Like, the Bible said, I'm calling you to kill your enemies on my behalf. I'm effectively hiring you as assassins. Like, I should have the name. I only read the story the other day, but there was a king in Judges, and one of the prophets, one of the called men by God to kill him, comes forward and asks for, I think he had a crippled hand, and this is why they allowed him, when he asked for a private residence with the king, all the men of the king's room all left, and they left it, and he came up to the king and he pulled out a little dagger and he drove it into him. And the Bible depicts how your man was so fat that the knife and the hilt, all of it went up inside him, and he couldn't pull the blade back out, and he fell, and his insides fell out, and he gutted him entirely, and his entrails came rushing out on the floor. And this was God's plan. This is a horrific, graphic assassination that the Bible records, and it's there. This is fact. This is recorded. That this is what's there, and it's very encouraging to see someone like you. Sorry to cut you off once more. Just to wrap this up, it's very encouraging to see someone like you come forward and stand over what you believe.
Thank you, man. No, I appreciate that. I think a good way of explaining it is, like you're saying, you got this balance, right? And it's like, I can't just accept and know that I can never ever be the good side of that balance completely, right? So if that was the case, then why would there be a need for Jesus Christ? Okay, so like, look at it this way: there's God, and you can view God as completely righteous, completely powerful, completely holy, perfect, right? He's God. Okay, so he's water, pure, perfect, righteous. Okay, we, because we're corrupted by sin, we all have sin in us. It's part of our nature. We're poison. Okay, because like we sin inevitably, right? So you put one drop of poison in with the water. Can you drink the water? No, you can't. Why? Because it's got poison in it. Yeah. So there's no mixing the poison and the water, right? So for us to be in relationship with God, we can't be on the same level as God. God is perfect, he's righteous, he's holy, and we're corrupted by sin. So that's where Jesus comes in. Jesus died for our sin. All of our sin was nailed to the cross, and he overcame death, right? And he's good enough for us. Okay, so us being poisoned, Jesus makes us on par with the water, so we can be in relationship with God, right? And I say that as a little analogy to basically explain that despite everything that goes on in the world, like there's going to be sin everywhere, there's going to be mess everywhere, things we don't understand. And basically at the end of the day, like you're saying, despite whatever we're doing, it's the heart condition on whether I'm trying to do it in relationship with Jesus Christ, with God, and am I treating people with Christ's attitude? Am I doing this with Christ's attitude? And I think that like that's where it's really important, because you're gonna sin, you're gonna do, like, you might talk about swearing. I swear all the time. I do things like all the time. I might like all the time. I can be horrible. Like even if I seem good, I can be horrible on the inside. And that's why I need God. I need Jesus, because he will take anything that I feel like I deserve this, I have the right to be like this, blah, 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 blah. When I focus on God and I look up rather than my own problems and my own situation, and I stop trying to be in control of my own life and trying to be my own God in a sense, I let God do that. And it's a complete perspective change. And I have energy to do things. I look at things completely differently, and I can see my sin when I do that. And I think, I just think the important thing is to like keep coming back to Jesus and all you do, really. And
Yeah. The thing then is, so you've also acquired an absolute stunner of a girlfriend. And I don't know how you pulled it off. I don't know how much you're paying her a month, but lad,
dude,
you're killing it, man.
She's a blessing, man. She's a blessing, like legit. She's one of the coolest things God's ever put in my life.
How does she take? Okay, was she there before you came to Christianity?
She was there when I was doing a lot of kind of like pondering of the idea. I wasn't as settled. Like right now, like you'd never be able to take it away from me.
Yeah.
But at that time, when I first met her, I was still kind of on the fence. So on the fence.
And how did she transition? So where does she stand on all this?
She's a Christian. She wasn't before.
And so
she is now.
Did you sort of convert together?
So I would feel that I was like further along my journey with God, kind of like at the very, very start of the relationship. But my biggest fear was like kind of putting any kind of like pressure or like expectation that she would be a Christian or that she would have the same views that I have, considering I would really be unsettled if she didn't have the same views that I have and beliefs that I have, right?
Yeah, I know that problem.
And honestly, again, like I just didn't try and control it. I just left it to God, prayed a lot about it, and I got to see God work in her life and her tell me things that she's prayed about and God's done in her life, and I've gotten to see that firsthand. And now we have this relationship where God comes first. And when you have two people that like have God first, number one, and they know that they're not perfect, they know that they'll never be able to meet each other's needs, there's forgiveness, there's unconditional love because of that. And it's crazy. It's amazing, man. So yeah, she's a keeper.
That's absolutely incredible, man.
She's right next to me here. She just goes, can she come say hi?
Absolutely. It'd be an absolute pleasure.
Come say hi. Can I take these out?
Oh, yeah. Grand. Hello.
Just say hi.
Hi, how are you?
Listen to me.
I'm very, very good. How are you?
Nice to meet you, Timmy.
so he is Irish. Yeah.
I'm as Irish as they come. Like if you want to find an Irishman, it's as pale skin and as ginger as I am.
Yeah, he does have a confession to make. He did call you a stunner.
I did call you.
He's sweet, isn't he?
I need you to blink twice if you're being held hostage. All right, we can come over there. We can sort this
Other way
out.
around, honestly.
We can save you. It's okay. You don't have to. Just because he's a fighter, you don't have to stay there.
Oh, no.
Other way around.
Ah, boy, lad. How long are you together?
What?
8 years?
Yeah, about 8 years.
Yeah.
No, we always joke and say that. I was gonna say about a year.
Yeah.
About a year.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
something like that.
Have you passed the honeymoon stage?
It's constant.
It's just always honeymoon.
That's what they all say. Lads, it's absolutely great to see the two of you together. Like, what do you make of his whole fighting career?
I love it. It's hard sometimes, but like I can see how passionate he is about it, and I'm so proud of him.
Cheers.
Like,
tell him about the first one you saw.
Oh, I cried my eyes out.
This is the thing, is like, what is it like to watch someone you love getting punched in the face and there's nothing you can do about it?
It's terrifying, like absolutely terrifying. Well, I can't explain it.
But you've gotten better because you see, like, you saw the first one and you didn't really like. She did for the first one. She didn't really see me fight before, so she was like, she was shaking. And then I think the second one you felt better because you kind of knew I could fight.
Yeah, but it's still like heart's pounding and so scary.
You see, your nerves would be just off the Richter scale as much as his are. But it's almost switching now because he's getting this sort of calm and he's beginning to learn to control his emotions, whereas you're still left on the sideline, unable to control anything that goes on inside in that cage. At least he's in there. He can try and minimize the damage. Like
she's out there praying for me now. Out there praying for me. And then,
either way, like when the emotions are high, it's very tough and it's very intense. And Kevin, like when you're cutting and stuff, what's your diet like? Because this is one of the issues that I have with my girlfriend, is that when we're together, the diet is wrecked. We go on chocolate, we're going sweets, we're going takeaways, and it's so much nicer when you're able to do it with your other half.
100%. So, man, like this is where we're a great team, because like there's times when because we do that all the time. Like this past week, man, we've just been munching because like obviously like, I have to make weight, like chocolates, we have such a sweet tooth. We like all the same foods. Like it's just the best thing ever. Like especially when you're like, oh, should I? And then you got your other half that's like, oh, yeah, let's do it. Right? And then boom. But when it comes to making weight and stuff, like I get really grumpy. Like I'm eating less than I want to. I'm training lots, and then that's where she comes in. She's really helpful because like I'll throw these little like tantrums, and she kind of like puts me in my place. But then she'll like be supportive. Like she helps me meal prep and stuff, because I'll be like, I do my meal prep, but like I get tired, and she just helped me do all that kind of stuff. And it's really cool to be able to have that person to like help me have my meals right. And then man, she's a detective as well. So like if I'm making weight, I'll go into the fridge, have a little square of chocolate, and I'm walking out. And I'm kind of like sneaky. I'm not meant to have it, right? Not meant to have it. And then I walk into the room, right? Give her a little peck or something, and she's like, "Did you just have chocolate?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, come here. And she's like, you just had chocolate.
That's Milky Bar.
And yeah, she knew you just had this. And I'm like, oh no, like, it's not good. But at the end of the day, like, it's good because she gives me what I need, not what I want. So it's like, yeah, it's really helpful, especially for the fights. And it's brilliant.
And do you diet when Kevin's dieting?
I tried, like, I don't want to sit there and eat a whole burger while he's sitting there eating his lettuce. But yeah, I still have my chocolate, don't I?
Yeah, no, like you do, like you
I try not
won't.
to do it around you.
Yeah, you don't do it. No, you eat a lot better for me,
Yeah.
so I don't have to sit that good. But it really makes me happy if we're like watching Netflix or something. And I know I can't snack, but I know she has something like maybe a bit of chocolate. I'm like, go get your chocolate. Like, and seeing her eat it will make me feel better. Like, it's weird. It's to an extent, right? Like, if she's munching or something like that, and I'm just sat here, I'm like, oh, I'm so angry. I can't have chocolate right now. But to an extent, like, I don't want her to like not be able to not have it just because I'm kind of like, you know.
Yeah, so I've been off sweets and chocolate since about the 27th of December. There was one day in between January and March that we had a pig out. But the girlfriend was doing she was doing a challenge, brilliant challenge. She was doing 5 kilometers. She was running 5 kilometers every day for the month of February. So she was raising money for the Edith Wilkins Foundation, who she did a college placement with for 5 months in Darjeeling up in the Himalayan mountains. And she built this really incredible relationship with the kids there and with the workers up there. And she always came away wanting to give back. And you see, she's often brought up the idea of potentially, well, definitely for 100% of me and her going there and visiting all the people, but she'd love to be able to work with them and to contribute to the work that's going on up there. So one of the things then is that they are struggling for funds at the minute because of COVID. All the big events for fundraising and stuff aren't going ahead. And so she said, I want to do something. I want to raise funds. And so she set together this challenge show. She did 5K to 5K is the name of the challenge. 5 kilometers every day, month of February. And so I was like, yeah, this is all great. You know, good on you. I'm proud of you and all that. But do you want to make it a little bit harder? And she goes, not really. I'm like, well, listen, I'm still off sweets and chocolate. So how about we both go off sweets and chocolate for the month of February and we'll see how we get on. And she goes, oh, Tim, please don't make me do this. I'm like, come on. You'll be all right. And she goes, all right, fine. And man, so she's working at the minute. She's part of the vaccination program. And so they're in all these nursing homes vaccinating people. And one of the things that nursing homes want to do is show their appreciation to all the people coming in.
Of course. Yeah.
And one of the ways they show appreciation is by bringing out some of the nicest munchies you could possibly imagine. And I'm talking all the stops pulled. I'm talking chocolate covered strawberries, freshly baked brownies, freshly baked muffins, cookies, all the sweets and chocolate you could imagine, all free, all just like, have more. Here's another cup of tea. And she has to Snapchat me and be like, this is your fault. I'm missing all of this. This is your fault. And she stuck to her guns. And I have absolute massive respect for her. And I love the bits. Brilliant. I love her the bits.
But serious self-control.
Oh, man. There's something really impressive about females' abilities. And not even females. When your partner in a relationship agrees to get on board with your motivations and your goals and your desires, it creates a very, very, very special bond between the two of you.
Yeah,
and it's in a very profound oneness. And it's two people working in perfect unison, and it's beautiful to watch. It really is. And you can achieve a lot more. And this is one of my things, was that this is a stupid one, but when I was growing up, I always had this weird idea that I'd stay single forever, and that when I achieve success or when I achieve where I want to go, it'll be all on me, and no one will say, oh, he had a good woman behind him. And it was a real selfish, real weird jealousy of sharing my success. And then you realize when you get in a relationship that you almost can't be successful without someone to give you a hand and without someone backing you up. And if you get a real special person to do that, it's absolutely incredible. So I have massive respect for the two of you, like, and I really, I'm buzzing for
respect for you. Yeah, no, cheers, man. Like, respect for you too. Hey, I mean, like, like the fact that you're even saying all that, like, shows that you've experienced it as well. Like, you know what I mean? So, exactly, like, we're both on the same level.
I think everyone goes through it, but not everyone's willing to accept or deal with some of the worries that relationships throw up, and they like to suppress it. And like I've
Mm,
always like one sort of you create little relationship rules. And one thing me and Sal don't do a lot is we don't go drinking together very often. Because when
mm,
I'm working clubs and stuff, one of the biggest things that is just a reoccurring factor is couples fighting, langers shouting the face off each other, stupid
mm.
things. But what's happened is that stuff that has happened in their relationship the week or the day or the months before, they
Yeah,
have a bit of drink and next thing it's an issue and they
yeah,
fight over it and there's this bickering.
yeah,
But a lot of that is
yeah,
because stuff that arises in relationships isn't being dealt with at the time that
yeah,
it occurs. And one of
yeah,
the things I'd say to you is that, and it seems like your communication skills are very good, but I'd
yeah,
encourage you to keep up that communication and be honest
yeah,
about what you think is happening in the relationship. And
yeah,
when you do that, you actually create a platform that you can work forwards together in, again, keeping that unison in place. But when you stop talking about problems or issues or dilemmas in the relationship, that's when the real problems begin to set in.
Wise words.
Yeah, man.
100%, man. Wise words, wise words. Instead of harboring things like, you know, open communication on Savage.
And one big one now, this is more, this was a particularly an issue for me, but and I think it's an issue for a lot of people, is space.
Yeah.
Having the ability to be able to look at the person who you love and say, look, I love you and all, but if I have to look at you for one more second, I'm going to brick something. So I need you to go away from me. And by creating
Oh,
that space, it actually does a lot. And this was a
yeah.
big one for me because I need a lot of
Mm,
alone time. I'm a bit of a
yeah.
loner. This was something that Sal had to get on board with, is that I'm not an overly romantic person and that I struggle to spend hours and hours and hours with the same person. And
Mm,
it was something we had to work over and back with, but it actually became very important because now we have a super strong relationship. But what you see, and I'll leave my little stupid relationship advice here, is it was a psychologist friend, it was Branislav, was told me this sort of theory from psychology, which is that if you imagine that each individual has their energy, their life force in a canister, in a gas canister above their head, and that's what they're connected to in a nozzle, and that's what they go around with every day. When you come together in a relationship, what you've done is you've actually created a new gas canister, but you keep yours and she keeps hers. What you're supposed to
mm,
do in the relationship is both of you, when you're together, you connect your life force into that union, into that relationship canister, and you both feed and you contribute into that middle canister. And that's where your relationship energy comes from. But you keep your individuality, you keep that relationship canister that brought you to the
mm,
relationship in the first place. It's very important not to lose that, because what some people do is they come to a relationship and instead of creating that third canister that they both feed into, one person will connect their life support nozzle into the other person's canister, and one person will
mm,
go away from the relationship feeling drained and feeling used and not feeling happy with the relationship. And it's because one of them isn't standing on their own 2 feet. And so part
yeah.
of standing your own 2 feet is by having that distance between yourselves and being able to say, hey, I need this weekend, I need to be on my own, or tonight look, I know we had plans, I'm really, really sorry, I just feel I need to be on my own. And being able to do that and not hate each other for it is a very important
Yeah.
balance to get right.
Yeah, and there's lots of understanding there as well. Like, you know what I mean? Being able to say that and like love and understanding in that capacity is gonna allow that to be okay. It's not like oh, this is a step backwards that I need space. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
it's a step forward,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's something that you'll have to deal with as long as the relationship goes on. These are issues that are always going to be bubbling beneath the surface, and if you don't sort of nail them down nice and early, they're not going away. And so by getting to them early and addressing them early, you actually build a very mature relationship a lot faster.
mm, I like it.
So I wish you all the very, very best, and thank you
Cheers, man.
for saying hello to me.
I was just saying. Yeah.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Great
Yeah,
to
so that's
meet you
Timmy. He's
too.
West on about.
Now,
Thank you.
give me back your boyfriend. I want to drill him a bit more.
Right. Back in it.
Let's go.
Right, you wire back up, savage. Um, Great. It's really encouraging to see a relationship like that. Be prepared that honeymoon periods, they will come to an end, and that's when the communication becomes absolutely paramount to the survival of the relationship. But it's lovely to see a relationship as open and as honest as the ones you have, and the fact that she's on board with Christianity and is working towards becoming a Christian is also very encouraging, because that can be make or break for a lot of relationships, because one person in the relationship thinks, geez, my partner's become a whack job, like I don't want anything to do with this, people are going to laugh at us, I'm embarrassed to hear him talk about it, etc., etc. But it's also important to keep your own faith separate from hers, and that even if she comes to you one day and says, look, I don't believe in this anymore, I wanted to do it to make the relationship last or whatever, it's important that your faith isn't hinged on her survival.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, but I think you know that.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, I know we say things like, oh, yeah, it's still in the honeymoon phase, but I think it's an attitude, like saying that we haven't like gone through ups and downs. That's absolutely lie. But like, it's what happens when you go through a down. It's what happens when you bump into each other and you have collisions, like, I mean, and it's about like getting through that, and then on the other side of that, you're back stronger again, you know?
Yeah. And
but look,
it's that ability to make the relationship last that actually creates very strong relationships. Because like, I had one breakup with Sal, and that was all on me. My head was all messed up. I was freaking out about the committing to a relationship for the long term and what it meant, and all my little delusions that I'd grown up with about being this super powerful single man and all this stuff was all playing puck with my consciousness. And long story short, we got back together, and as a result of getting back together, we took any areas that needed working on and improved them. And so now the relationship is stronger than ever. And what's sad is that a lot of people, when they break up, they don't get back with their partners. And now a lot of that is for good reasons, such as cheating or genuine problems in the relationship. But one of the benefits of coming back to someone that you were in a relationship with is that all the information, all the memories that you've shared together, you still have. And you've already got the foundations of a house built, and now you get to put the third, the fourth, the fifth story on it. And that's when you create a real mansion of a relationship, a palace of a relationship.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It was coming back to more to ordinary things for a minute. What was the thought to go to Australia? Where did that come from?
Man, so like, without getting too detailed into things, my life pretty much went to shit back home very fast. Just in terms of like college, relationships with people, even fighting, like drugs as well, man. Like pretty bad, like down shit street. And then just kind of like I got rock bottom really. And then that's when my brother actually came to Ireland for a holiday with his wife and kids, and that was really unexpected. That wasn't planned either. That was just like suddenly my brother was on his way over to Ireland, you know. I was like, oh, okay. And then I ended up, everything that happened to me at that stage back home, I was keeping in, like no one knew about it. I was put on a really big front, not letting anyone see how bad I was doing. And then when my brother came over, he was chatting to me, and he's a devout Christian, and he was showing me like behaviors, just like speaking to me with like care that I hadn't. Yeah, just like, it's hard to explain, right? But pretty much for some reason I just absolutely broke down in front of him. And then following that, his first words to me were like, why don't you come to Australia? Right? No planning, no preparation, nothing around it. And I thought about that idea. And I kind of like, I was like really taken back. I was like, oh, okay, like maybe I'll have a look at this. And then he sat down with me. We looked at all the options and stuff. And we're like, okay, maybe we just do that and help you hit the reset button for a year. And then we applied for a visa. Usually it takes like a couple months for a visa application to be granted, and got granted the next day. Like,
whoa.
And he prayed with me about it and all this kind of stuff, because I shared a lot of stuff that happened in my life that was like, it was really like mentally effective. Like it's just, it had an effect on me, took a toll on me.
Yeah.
And I was in a bad place. And he just sat down, prayed with me, and he's like, look, if this is like God's plan, we'll do it. And again, while we were praying, I was like, oh, like I just let him do it. I just let him do
Yeah.
it because I was like, I was in a bad place, and I was like, look, like if this helps, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, visa got granted the next day, and then in a few weeks I was flying out to Australia, and then that's where God started His work in my life. Really, that's why.
So you're talking, it was over maybe, so he landed on randomly, and so from him landing back to Ireland randomly to
Yeah.
leaving was what, a month?
Like they only came over for, as in, sorry, him coming and then leaving, or him coming and then me leaving.
Him coming, you leaving.
Oh yeah, about a month. About a month, yeah.
Whew!
I know.
That was
And he,
fast, man. That was a big change in your life.
oh yeah, man, 100%, like complete 180, complete 180. So
And
yeah,
when you went to leave, were you worried? Were you scared? Were you anxious?
I was all of the above. Like I didn't know what my motivations were for anything at that stage. I had like, yeah, I didn't know. My life was an absolute mess in my
Yeah.
eyes. It was chaos, had no purpose, had no meaning, like felt unfair, felt like, yeah, just all those things. And then I came to Australia, and then I started to realize how God used all that to show me
Mm.
that I'll never have full satisfaction without Him. And then it's cool because like in all of that, like nothing could have saved me from any of that except for God, you know, like, and yeah,
And can you remember what month you came to Australia in?
pretty sure it was what, roughly, I think it was roughly like July or something, June, July.
Of 2020,
Oh
or is
man,
it 2019?
I'm terrible with dates, man.
I'd say it's probably
So,
2019 because
yeah,
if you're with herself for nearly a year,
I'll tell you. Like I've been, I'll tell you the exact date now. Yeah, look, man, like it's just been a freaking long, like a long journey, man. Like like I said, I didn't have intentions to stay over here, and then like God slowly showed me. He's like, nah, I want you over here. Yeah, so it was 2019, July 2019.
yeah. And so did you get the work holiday visa extended?
So what happened was after my first year, I was coming up to the point where I had to either extend it or figure out what I was doing because I
Yeah.
didn't do my agricultural work, which you meant to do 3 month three. But I wasn't planning on staying or extending
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
so I didn't do that. And usually you do that for 3 months, and then you can qualify for another working holiday visa. So I changed it to a study visa, and I now have a study visa to be here for the duration of my studies. And I'm studying a diploma in sports coaching with a MMA speciality.
Oh,
And
nice.
that happens to be on the government list of needed occupations
Oh,
for you.
yes.
Yeah, so it's just like it's just crazy. Yeah,
All
it's
the
just crazy
pieces are
how
beginning to fit for you.
exactly like, and it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's by no means of my own. It's just like out of everything that's needed in like for the occupations to get permanent residency in Australia, the fact that like um physiotherapists might not be on that list, but a having a diploma in sports coaching with an MMA speciality means that I can be here for like permanently. It's just ridiculous.
Man,
It's
look at
exactly
the,
what I do.
like that course is just, not only is it built for you, but it's so
Yeah,
cool. You would not
yeah,
find an MMA speciality course in Ireland. That
yeah,
opportunity is only Australia. And so how long
yeah.
is that course?
It's an 18-month course
And
in total.
how far are you into it?
I'm in my third term, so what's that, like about 8 9 months into it now.
And
About
what
9 months,
happens then
nine or
at,
10.
at the end of when you finish that? Are you able to apply for another visa again?
Yeah, so from that, my next I'll be applying for permanent residency with the qualification that I've obtained, and
Yes.
that's it's needed. So like, it's very likely that I'll get it. I do have other options as well, but like that's pretty much the goal.
So you're looking to set up shop long term in Australia.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
100%,
amazing, man. That's absolutely
100%.
amazing.
Yeah,
And tell me as well, how is Kyle?
Kyle is absolutely fantastic, man. So like he's got a beautiful wife, he's got 2 kids, and he's got a third on the way. Yeah, he's doing good, man. He's like so he's a doctor, he's still working lots. He's still a great brother as well. Like I said, he took me under his wing, let me live in the house, and just being like just a real brother to me, like always supportive and stuff, and just like, yeah, no, it's cool having that, you know.
Kyle always did keep an eye on you. Like he was always a good older brother because he was so many
100%.
more years older than you and Shane.
Yeah, yeah. So he's
And
14 years older than me.
how is the relationship between all of you? Like, is Shane? Are you still in touch with Shane?
100%, yeah. So Shane's still back in Ireland,
He is,
and
yes.
my dad's still back in Ireland.
Okay.
But still in contact with him, chat lots as well. Lots of video chats. Like I miss him loads. I'd love to see him at some stage. My dad did come over. I think it was like last December, just for Christmas, and he was here for a few weeks, which was real cool.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen Shane since I left, and that gets me down sometimes. But
Yeah,
I know we'll cross paths again. Like I mean, we still chat a lot, but I can't wait. Maybe get him over here at some stage in Australia, or
Yeah,
when I
man.
come home.
My brother's over in Canada as well now. He would have left 2019 as well, just December 2019. And it's the same again. Like I'll be chatting to him. I try to chat to him weekly, if not every second week. And he was only saying to me the other day, well, wasn't saying to me, the plan of going over to visit him was always there, but flights and stuff are so expensive. But we were only talking the other day now, if I start planning for next year,
Yeah.
a year in advance, like COVID should be hopefully gone.
Yeah.
Flights will be dirt cheap if I plan this far in advance, and hopefully I'll get to see him. So Shane will just have to do the same thing. And it's the sooner you start planning that, the better. But I was curious as how is COVID in Australia? Because we hear all these reports that Australia's opened up within itself and that it kept its borders closed and that it got COVID relatively under control.
Yeah. So like honestly, man, like I think we've been like one of the luckiest places, like pretty much in the world at the minute. Like so. We've been nowhere near like you guys back home. We have had a few lockdowns and stuff. At the start, it was the most kind of severe, like and longest duration of lockdown. But like our cases, like over the past like a few weeks, we did have a lockdown just gone. I think it was about a week or 2 ago, but that was more precautionary because I think there was like there was 1 or 2 cases found in Western Australia or Perth or wherever it was. So that was kind of like a precautionary, right? Everyone's going into lockdown to like really keep it under control. And then for the following week after that, there was no other cases. So like it's been dealt with really, really well over here. It's pretty much normal life, like to an extent. So like obviously you're still scanning everywhere you go with the barcodes and stuff. We're wearing
barcode?
Also like basically it's called Safe WA or Safe Western Australia. And wherever you go, like to a shop or whatever, they'll have a barcode and you download this app on your phone and you scan the barcode. And basically what it is it records that you've been there, right? And if a COVID-19 case arises and it's been in that location, you will get notified that there's been like a case found at that location on this date at this time. And you're like, oh, I was there on that day, like, do you know what I mean? So then you be more inclined to go and get checked or something like that. So that's in place.
And does everyone abide by that rule?
Not everyone has it on the phone, but you still have to sign in. So if you don't have that, there'll be like a thing that you sign your name and your number to show that you were there before you enter a shop.
Yeah, contract tracing.
At that time. Yeah, pretty much.
Ireland tried rolling out that app as well. I don't know if it's obviously probably not the same one, but the problem with the Irish is that we're so skeptical, and there's such a divide in Ireland at the minute between conspiracy theories and facts and where the actual truth lies, is that the app just didn't. I know some people who have it right. I personally didn't get it, but that's out of laziness, not because I've got not for any other reason. And you see, the problem is that Ireland is just such a lackadaisical country. We just don't take anything seriously, and the fellas making decisions don't really have the ability that the fellas who are in control do not have the ability to evoke our trust in them. And so when they tell us things, we don't take them seriously and we don't like what they're saying. But it sounds like in Australia, the general consensus was like, right, let's come together as a community, let's kick this and let's get it sorted. But you see, the problem is that we look at our government and we say, right, if you're in control, then help us out. And the government say, right, you've all this responsibility. You have to stay at home. Don't be traveling more than 5 kilometers. Don't be seeing your relatives. And we go, okay, we'll try to do that. But then behind the scenes, the government were leaving in thousands and thousands of tourists into the country. And so for all our hard work, COVID was still on the rise, and it wasn't our fault. And people are only coming around to that now. And what it's done is destroy trust in the government. Now, I think the borders are kind of closed now, but that was one of the things that Australia has always been good at, is Australia will take care of itself before it gives a bollocks about anyone else in the world. And Australia shut down their borders nice and early, and they haven't budged them. As far as I've read, they haven't budged them since then. And like when you at that stadium, what did you say the name of the stadium was again?
HBF Stadium.
HBF Stadium. Like, did you have was there a crowd at that?
Yeah, there was a crowd at that, yeah.
And was there social distancing, or how was it structured?
So that was the day after the lockdown and all the restrictions were in place. So it was the next day. So it was meant to be on the Saturday, and then obviously the lockdown hit, and even myself, I was like, oh, I'm not fighting anymore. And then they kind of like just kept pushing through. We were kind of waiting to see how things were going with the lockdown. We got told by the promoters to keep making weight, keep training. And next thing, I know the promoter pretty well as well. For Eternal, his name's Ben Vickers. I spoke to him, and he said that it's still going to go ahead. And then obviously it was planned for the Saturday, but everyone's still meant to be in lockdown. So what they did is they changed it for the following day, just in hope that it would go ahead pretty much. Yeah. And then sure enough, it still went ahead. There was no more cases by like 12 a.m. Saturday night. All restrictions were lifted. Sunday, everyone went in, filled the stadium, sold out. Boom.
Are you serious? Sold out stadium. Everyone sitting side by side.
Yeah. I mean, like, there were
jealous of that.
So yeah, there were like I'm not sure if there was like there were some. I remember there's some differences, like in terms of like I wouldn't go as far as say restrictions, just some things that were slightly different because obviously they were still minding the fact that we just came out of a week of lockdown, but it was still pretty normal. Like, I know I was very focused on the fight, and I wasn't even giving any thought really to the lockdown and everything going on, because like, especially in fight week, you just like, you got so much happening. Yeah, it's just, it's no point. Like, and again, let's just goes back to what I said at the start, just like give it to God. Like, instead of me trying to be like, oh, is it going to happen? It's not going to happen. What do I do? Like, just give it to God. Look, if he wanted to go ahead, it'll go ahead. And then it did, yeah.
And what about bars and restaurants and clubs and stuff? What's the structure? What's happening there, out of curiosity?
I actually have no idea. So I live in a suburb. Like, I don't live like very close to the city or anything. I don't go out or anything. Hannah doesn't go out and drink and stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure it's still open and stuff like that. Like, but I just don't know enough information about that.
Okay. Yeah. And have you gone traveling around Australia or anything yet?
I did. Like, I did last year. Huh?
Where'd you go?
Where'd I go? I went to Esperance. So when I say traveling around, I just went on like a holiday down to Esperance. It's just a really nice place. Like, saw really nice beaches and stuff. Swimming in the water, and then flipping, like, they're kind of secluded beaches. And they're kind of known for the wildlife as well. But I just, in Irish, I didn't think about it. And then I was like, this is amazing, man. The sand is like white powder. I was like, dude, it was squeaking while it was so fine the closer you got to the water that it was squeaking while I was walking on it. Like, you can't even imagine that. Like, so it was like white fluffy powder. The closer you get to the water, it's squeaking, right? And I was in the water, I was swimming, and then just decided, okay, yeah, let's come out. And then came out, and next thing, this guy's there, and he's like, man, there's a tiger shark. I'm like, what? Looking exactly where we were swimming, and there's a freaking shark in the water. Oh, yeah, man. And there's like, nah, I'm good. I'm not good. Yeah. It's pretty sick. So that was cool. That was cool.
That's one of the things that has to be said for Ireland. We've got so little that can kill you.
Yeah, I know, man. There's snakes, there's spiders, man. I do not like spiders, not one bit. And like, they got some big boys over here. I haven't seen a snake since I've been here, but spiders, man.
What sort of spiders have you seen?
Oh man, so like, oh, like there's like even house spiders, like I'm not sure what they're called, like just yeah, just I don't know the name, but house spiders are pretty big. They're just like black looking guys. And then there's ones that I always see when I do my runs for training. So I leave the gym and I run like next to the bypass, and it's hot next to the bypass.
Mhm.
And then there's like bushes and stuff. And I think they're called funnel web spiders.
Mhm.
You just run. In a way, it's kind of cool to look at. It's pretty beautiful. Like you see the sun hit this massive web, right, and it's kind of glistening. But then you see this big long thing on it, like that long. It's just running, and you're like, no. But the worst one I've seen, it's called a huntsman
I know them.
spider. So I was out with my brother down in Bustleton, yeah, and we were chopping down trees and stuff. And man, I just looked over and I was real close, and I saw this thing just like on a freaking like tree bit with the twigs and all that. And man, I nearly died. I ran about 100 meters away, man. I couldn't take it. It's like not a hope. Like they get huge over here as well.
And do you have to, when you go to put on your shoes or anything, do you have to knock and make sure nothing's crawled into them or anything?
I don't do that. Nah. That's.
I think you should start doing that.
Yeah, I probably should. To be honest, you shouldn't have put that in my head.
When you sit on the toilet seat, brother, they're gonna come up and they're gonna tickle your balls.
Oh, stop, man. There was actually that being said, I was in the gym yesterday, and Hannah comes out to me and she's like, "There's a spider in the bathroom." So I had to kill a spider in the gym's bathroom there yesterday. So you're not far wrong, man. They're all over the place. But look, I've done all right so far.
What does your average week look like? So
Average week. It's different now compared to when I'm fighting.
Yeah.
Fight camp. Pretty much my week consists of work. So I work in the gym that I train in. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. Also teach Muay Thai at the gym as well. And then I might teach I teach boxing for some classes, and then the occasional jiu-jitsu class if I get asked to. So I've worked throughout the whole week, different stages. I have PTs as well throughout the week. And then I have my own training. So I try to train at least once a day, except for Sundays. And then outside of that, I have my college. So my uni work, it's all online for me, which is pretty cool. Other than my practical, I have to head kind of into the city to do my practical, but that's jiu-jitsu. So that's pretty fun.
Oh, your practical is jiu-jitsu.
It is, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's very cool. And then I've got Hannah and I've got the dogs. We got a cool border collie cross kelpie.
You have a beautiful dog. Is that actually yours? Did the two of you go out and get that dog?
So we have two. So which one are you on about now? Are you on about the black one, or are you on about the kind of what? Okay, so the black one, we didn't get them together. We actually got them separately before we kind of like really got together. But when we got together, like the two pups have known each other since they were like babies. So they're like they've grown up together. So it's just, we call them our children, man. Like they're literally just they're just best friends. So mine's a Staffy cross Labrador, and she's called Coda.
That's an interesting mix.
Yeah, it is. So I had a dog back home before I came over here. She was a boxer cross Labrador, and she's like fully black, and she was my best friend, man. So obviously, like I had to let go of that relationship when I came over here.
Who's minding her now?
Oh, she's with a different family. She's with a really lovely family that happened to lose that exact type of dog. Like, yeah. Or when I say lose, they had that dog and it passed away.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say.
Sorry.
I think you just bought their kidnapped dog.
No, sorry, no. Their dog had passed away. It's the exact same type of dog.
Yeah.
And then they were looking for a dog, and we found them, and yeah, they were just lovely people. So we left her with that family. Okay. And then I was wanted, like once I decided that I wanted to stay here, I was like, I want a dog. I want a dog again. And then I knew I wanted a Staffy. But then again, like to get pure breeds and things like that, like really expensive as well. And I know that the Labrador kind of mix is always really good in a dog. And I don't have to have a pure breed. You know, a dog's a dog. So I was
man.
And I saw this thing, and she was the runt of the litter as well. And man, she's just brilliant. So I got her from day one, and then brought her in. She was my pup. And then Hannah rescued her dog at that time, which is a border collie cross Kelpie, and his name's Clyde. And then by the time we got together, they've just grown up and they're just like athletes now. We take them out for lots of runs, and they're just freaking athletic dogs. Like,
That's sick, man.
it's insane, yeah.
That's
so cool.
so sick. Cody and Kelp. No, what's it? Cody and Calvin.
Coda and Clyde.
Sorry,
Have you ever seen Brother Bear?
Real sad movie. I think I watched it once and I was too traumatized to watch again.
What? Brother Bear?
Yeah, man, he dies in Brother Bear.
What? No, he doesn't. You're thinking of the wrong movie. You're thinking of the wrong movie, man.
Maybe I am. What about, is that the name from Brother Bear, is it?
So pretty much like one of the characters' name's Coda. And like Coda actually like translates to like companion or friend or like best friend and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I picked that. Like, yeah. And then Clyde, Hannah picked Clyde because it's an old man's name. Oh, look, it's got character. So
it does have character, and the two names work really well side by side.
Yeah. Oh, they're brilliant. Yeah, they keep us occupied anyway. Yeah, so that's pretty much my that's my week. Just like try and bring the dogs out. Got training, work, college, and then eating. I have to when I'm in fight camp, very particular about how I eat. And then when I'm not in fight camp, I enjoy myself.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I must say, I give you absolute credit, right, for the hot chocolate that you've put up on your story on Instagram, right? I saw it and I was drooling. I was like, no, I've got to try this, right? Do you want to get the Lindt chocolate and you melt it, man? Oh, it's a game changer.
It's next level, bro.
It's a game changer, man.
Because it's already so creamy and truffly inside it, and so all you need to do is just release the shell of goodness.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
I can't take responsibility for that. That was Sal's craftsmanship. And you see, this is why you need relationships, because you bring together something beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she came up with this create your own hot chocolate thing. Now, I'm sure other people have done it too, but man, we started mixing it up with the flavors. We started trying all these different chocolates.
It's endless.
I'll give you another one. Is melted cookies and cream Hershey's white chocolate, a load of it melted, and fresh strawberries. Dip it in, lad.
Do you know what?
Do you know what? My days.
Man, I have both of them. I actually have both of them in my kitchen. Right now, I know exactly what Hannah and I are going doing after this call, man. Legit.
Lad, that stuff is savage.
That's brilliant. That's some idea, that is.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Food is
brilliant. It's good.
Food is good, man. Food is good. Can I just say as well, it sounds like you have the most beautiful life. Like that structure, that daily structure from a bit of training, bit of study, bit of eating, bit of sunshine, bit of dogs, bit of girlfriend, bit of everything. Man, that's something. Well, first of all, it's something that Ireland couldn't give you. It was an absolute genius idea to move, and I think it's as we can. It both sounds like it's benefited you in more ways than we can even count. But that kind of free life, man, people would go their whole lives not experiencing that. So appreciate and cherish every minute of that, because that's a real nice structure that you've got going on there.
Yeah, I know, man. Yeah, try and be grateful for it every day.
But that's another big plus of Christianity, is that it's the thankfulness, and when you start looking in your life for blessings and for things you're grateful for, all of a sudden you're overwhelmed with all these amazing things. Like even on straightforward ones, not getting killed when you go driving your car, not having a family member drop from a heart attack, not having any horrific thing happen to you on a daily basis. Like all these things need to be thankful for. And that's one of the really, really good things about Christianity is it pushes those to the forefront, and your gratitude and your positiveness all steps up as a result. But sorry, no, I had pieces before that. I think I was going to go back to diet. How does your diet look like then? Do you have someone for nutrition?
No, so I've actually just, I think through experience, trial and error, just kind of, I wouldn't say figured it out. It's constantly a learning process. It's so vast, like, of what you can do. for performance manipulation of your weight. So like when it comes to my weight cut, man, it's a very, very interesting time. So I've tried a bit of everything. I've tried keto, I've tried like plant-based, I've tried like pretty much carnivore, not fully a carnivore diet, but like just very, very high protein, very little carbs kind of things. Calories in, calories out, like how just all the different kind of aspects of it. And I've found that over my last 4 weight cuts, I've really gotten to know what happens to my body when I do certain things. So first of all, if you're going to train anything that's kind of like high impact or kind of like high intensity, like MMA, you need carbs. No, like you need carbs, man. 100%. Replenish glycogen storages in your muscle. You need energy for that. Like if you want to lose weight, you want to lose body fat, calorie deficit. And you achieve a calorie deficit by either eating less or training more. And then that was the easy thing for the first fight camp. I was like, oh, calorie deficit. But then it started getting into things like, right, am I filling myself with lots of volume of good food and nutrients? Or am I filling myself with like crappy nutrients that's not helping me achieve the things I want to achieve? So the first time that I fought at 61.2 kilos, I looked a bit like a druggie. I was a very skinny.
That's the
like,
Clonmel influence, boy.
Yeah, cheeks like sunk in, very skinny. And that was that. Like my frame didn't look too great, but my last 2 fights, I felt like a freaking animal. Like when I'm at that weight, and I think it's just the way I've done it. So like I've had a very nice, like kind of like good calorie intake for the first few weeks of the fight camp, where I'm training loads, but I'm fueling myself. Protein's the highest thing. But next to that is like carbs and lots of veggies and things like that, right? And then when it comes to the weight cut, right, I do a few things. Obviously being in a calorie deficit for weeks coming up to that point, I start to drop weight. So I'll drop maybe from 70 kilos, 69 kilos, 68 kilos. And then I'm lean at that stage. And then it's like, right, I have a lean body fat percentage, but now if I start dropping, I'm going to start losing some muscle as well. So I basically want to keep my protein really high at that point. So I'm not losing muscle in that stage. I'm just losing fat. And then I'll probably get to around 67 kilos, maybe 67 kilos, 68 kilos, to about 2 weeks out, a week out from my fight. Okay. Then that last week and a half, I do a few things. So I reduce my carb intake, which will, if you imagine your body's like a car, okay, and you have a tank, right, and you fill up your tank with petrol, with fuel, okay. Carbs are energy, main source of energy, okay. So if you fill your car with fuel, it's obviously going to be heavier. A full tank of petrol versus no tank of petrol, it's going to be heavy. It's going to be heavier with the petrol, right? Yeah. So if I reduce how much carbs I have in my diet for like the week up to the weigh-in, I don't have the energy from the carbs, but I don't need them. I've done all my training. Yeah. That week I'm just making weight. So I completely reduce my carbs, and that reduces my glycogen storages, and I'm lighter because of that. I'll get like a few percentage of my body weight lighter. Next thing, I reduce my fiber intake and my sodium intake. So my fiber is really good for your digestive system, right? For lots of reasons, but it's excess weight. It isn't digested fully or digested properly. So it's just excess weight. So if I remove that, then I have like a much clearer gut, and I remove that excess weight. I'll drop a few percentage from that. Then sodium. So salt holds on to water in the body. If I deplete my sodium, then I will be able to have less water in my body. That'll get rid of a few percentages, right? Then I'm at the stage where I do a water load, which is pretty much 5 days out from my weigh-ins. I drink 8 liters of water every day. 4 days out, 8 liters. 3 days out, 8 liters. 2 days out, 8 liters. A day out from my weigh-ins, I drink 1 liter. And what's happened in that process is I've really hydrated my body. I've sent my kidneys into overdrive to like let go of the water. I drink that 1 liter of water, and then I'd wake up. I was 66 kilos on the Friday morning. I'm weighing in on the Saturday morning. So 66 kilos Friday morning. I have to be 61 kilos the next day. On that day, I drank the 1 liter. By that evening, I was 63 kilos just from peeing it all out, right? And then I go to bed, wake up the next day. I was, I think again, 63 point something that day, 63.6.5 or something like that.
Mhm.
And then I do my water cut, my dehydration, which is like a bit of kind of active dehydration, anything that involves movement. So like sauna suit on, very, very light, like pads or something, or just like shadow boxing, followed by a hot bath. And in the hot bath, I'm not doing any activity, but I'm still dehydrating. You know, all the water's coming out, which is really good because it's less stress on my body. And then I'll drop all that water, hop out. Last part of that weight cutting is a towel burrito, which is pretty much like I hop out the bath. My body's at that temperature where I'm sweating. I chuck on a load of stuff called Sweet Sweat, helps you sweat more. And I hop in, put the towels over me, and I continue to sweat for maybe like 15, 20 minutes. And then I hop out, stand on the scales, boom, 61 flat. I know I've made weight. And then I go to the weigh-ins, and I weigh in, stand on the scales. These are the official weigh-ins where it's recorded, okay, you've made weight. And then after that, from that moment, I'm allowed my rehydration protocol, which is probably the most important part of the whole process, because my body's like a sponge, and it's like it wants water, it needs fluid. If I want to put any carbs back in my body to have energy, I need water to digest that. It's like trying to cram a load of like mushed up food down a dry pipe compared to lots of water. And now everything's flowing really good. You need like the water molecules to bounce off of everything for you to digest well. So right after I weigh in, it's all about replenishing the water I've lost, the salts, all the different electrolytes and things like that came from my sweat. That's the most important. Otherwise, your body's just not going to hold on to the water, and you won't. Your stomach will be very small. Like you feel so full. Like if you just gulp it down. So you have to be very careful. You have to like sip, take in little amounts every half an hour. And then after you're hydrated to a certain extent, you can start eating things again, little bits of carbs. You can only digest a certain amount every half an hour. And then just implementing these things. You don't really need much protein. You want to stay away from fats and all that kind of stuff after the weigh-ins, because you don't need it. To perform, all you need is like carbs and your salts and your water. And that's the fun part, because your body can't handle digesting complex carbs like whole grain and stuff. Your body wants quick sugars, and that's like jelly snakes and stuff. And like literally like real quick sugars, quick carbs and stuff. And you get to like kind of rehydrate, eat all those things. And if you do it right, I've done it terribly. I've just gone and like smashed pasta down because I can eat now, and I've been so sick, and I've been in bed like just in a food coma, waking up the next day feeling awful. But when you do it right and you take your time and you do the rehydration protocol well, you wake up the next day. I woke up the next day at 69.7 kilos. Yeah. And that's just from the rehydration. So it's crazy how much you can manipulate it. And I felt amazing. I felt so good. I felt on fire, loads of energy, like ready to go. I felt real good before my fight.
You put on 9 kilos in one day.
8 kilos. Yeah. 24 hours, yeah. It's great when you think about it like that. It's like really like, what the hell? But if you think about it, like 1 liter of water is about a kilo.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about like how much and I've cut effectively throughout that whole week. I've cut about 7 or 8 kilos of water. I was probably really hydrated, like probably more than I needed to be before the fight. And that's why I was heavy, is probably holding on to a lot of it. Like I said, I'm a sponge, so my body's like, we're holding on to this.
Yeah.
But I didn't in any way, like for 8 kilos overnight, I didn't feel in any way like bad. I felt amazing. You know, so if you do it right, it's really, really good. And all of this has been measured by, like, I follow a guy called the Fight Dietitian. And he deals with guys like Israel Adesanya and Alex Volkanovski and all those kind of guys. And he'll put up certain things about nutrition And that's where I get a lot of my guidance from, or I'll look it up myself and I'll figure it out, because in that whole process, it's really dangerous cutting weight. Like
Yeah.
everything I've done, I've picked, imagine, so there's 5 things I've mentioned, like carbs, I've mentioned sodium, I've mentioned fiber, I've mentioned like water loading, my dehydration, right? All these kind of things that I'm doing, I'm taking a bit of percentage from each of them. People like try and lose like 4 kilos of water straight off the bat. And if you've sodium in your body, like that's holding on to that water, like trying to get that water out of you is awful. Like you'd be in a horrible state trying to get to a weigh-in if you're just depleting one thing. So I've had to really learn where I'm depleting it from and why, how long that takes. And I think I've kind of gotten it now, but it's still always pretty like, yeah.
And have you put together all these protocols by yourself?
It's an accumulation of like what qualified dietitians and nutritionists have said, and I've listened to like their podcasts and what they say for their athletes, and I've taken that information and I've applied it to what I do, and I've noticed an absolute drastic change in not only making weight but performance. So I'll take that information and I'll make my protocol around that. So I'll have a little notepad, and even when it comes to my rehydration, because I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm mentally not full of energy because of my week of making weight and less carbs and less sodium. Like it gets you mentally a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll have my little notepad and I'll write down like the first thing I drink after my weigh-in is my water with this little kind of like solution that my coach gives me. It's just full of like salts and electrolytes. Yeah. And he just puts a few drops in the water, and I'll like write down, that's the first thing I drink. I'll put a number 1 on that bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like start making a plan of what I'm going to do, because when you're there in the mental space that you're in, you just want to like gulp, like eat. And then you'll pay for it later on.
Yeah.
So I kind of like, I've tried to make those, but I wouldn't take any credit for like coming up with it myself at all. It's just information I've gotten.
But you've put it together in a very analytical and very intelligent way. Because I've spoken to fighters that have had more experience in with fight camps and with actual fighting than you have, and their diet is chronic. Like they're not like they tell me what they're eating, and I'm like, are you sure you're supposed to be eating that? But all right, whatever. But you've got a very good mind, but it runs in the family, man. You're all very sharp. Like Kyle he's a doctor. He's very tuned in. Shane's very tuned in. You're very tuned in. You all have very bright minds, and you've put it to work here. And you've created you've at the very least created a system that works for you. I've massive respect for you, because you seem to know the science behind it and what's important, and you've given thought to the nutritional value, which is very important, and how sodium interacts with cutting and everything. And there's a lot of thought and a lot of detail gone in there. So it's very impressive to hear. Well done, man.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. I would say, like, if anyone, like, those kind of guidelines are pretty much like they're available if you go looking for, like, if you look for there's lots of information. Like, it's just worth having a look for anyone who's fighting, because like weight cutting is a very serious thing. Like
it is,
like
yeah,
and like even Australia, like there was a death, like I'm not sure how recently, of a girl who was cutting weight, and it is an area that's like not really chatted about, and it's kind of just accepted as one of those things. But like just like anything I've said about like trying not to take too much out of one thing, like too much water, or just like too much of like percentage of your body weight out of one avenue, like that can really harm you. And at the end of the day, like I know that my overall body weight that I walk around at, that whatever weight I'm fighting at, that's a safe percentage for me to cut. If it's more than like 10%, like it's so stupid. Don't try and achieve it type thing. But if you know that, then have a look at the science and try and do it right. Like, don't half-ass it, because it'll bite you in the ass.
It is, it is. It's a risky game. You do hear a small bit of chat about it. The UFC look to try and minimize the dangers, and you see, it's the problem with the big gaps in the weight categories and stuff, is that fighters who are in the middle are forced either to cut a lot or try and put on weight. And then like there's the argument like when you went in to fight him, you were at 69. Like it doesn't even make sense that you had to make weight at 61 if you're going to be a different human that goes into that cage. You know, even the logic seems like it's contradicting itself almost.
Yeah, they are trying to bring in kind of like rules and regulations about that now because of those things that have happened. So, for example, there was a secondary weigh-in on the day of the fight, but that it wasn't recorded. Like I obviously made weight the day before, but the secondary weigh-in was like 2 hours before the actual fight, and they recorded me at 69 kilos. That wasn't put out anywhere. It was just done by the Commission of Combat Sports in Australia, and it was taken as data collection for the minute. So I think what I presume they're going to implement is they're going to look at all these fighters and they're going to see how much weight they're cutting, what they're weighing in at, and what they are the next day. And I think like they're going to start putting in regulations that if people are cutting like more than a certain percentage of the body weight that's unhealthy, they're going to bump them up a weight category. So that's a cool thing, I think. I mean, even if I get bumped up a weight category, like I don't mind that because other guys will get bumped up as well, you know. And it's not a case of like I fancy my chances, like even if it's at 65 kilos, if it's against another guy, like, I just want to like test my abilities really. But it's something like thinking of it from like a kind of elite point of view, especially if I want to go pro and things like that. Your record is very important, and there is an advantage, like you said. Like you can see if I'm stronger, a bit heavier, and I'm able to make that weight compared to finding someone who's a lot taller than me or a lot stronger than me and has more kind of physical attributes than I do. But like if you have a look at that fight, like when I fought Abdallah El Tigani, you'll see
like that's crazy difference.
Oh man, like I think it was like Eternal. Oh, I don't even know the number of Eternal, but some of them you have to look up the live stream. It's not like you can't look up my name versus whoever it was. I think that one you can look up Kevin Kophamel versus Abdallah, and you'll see. And he made, I don't know how he made 62 kilos.
Yeah,
like you'll see, man. He's 6'2". He's like long, and I think it was too much of a cut for him. He's gone up a weight since. He's pro now, actually. He's had 2 pro fights. Yeah.
Man, that's fair enough. Like that's, you know, you got beaten by someone who's now fighting pro. You know, that's respectable.
Oh man, I'd love to fight him again. Hey, I'd love to fight him again. We've chatted about it, man. I love that. Like especially like we had a good fight. We both know we had a good fight, and we kind of like we just both have respect for each other. We'd love to do it again as well. But like I said, he's gone pro, so we'll have to wait a bit until that happens for me.
Have you plans to go pro?
Yeah, so I've a few like I have options in regards to that, but I don't see a rush in it at the minute because I think it is a big step, big commitment, big dedication, and I don't see why I shouldn't like get really experienced. And I'm chatting to my coach about it as well, like get really experienced now rather than jumping in too prematurely and trying to like I mean like I will always back myself and have confidence, but I'm in no rush to do any of that, you know. So when the time's right. Right.
No, I agree with you. It reminded me the size difference that you kind of referring to. Did you see Sweetman's fight in the Clonmel Park?
Yeah.
That sort of height difference is what I'm imagining now when you're telling me about this fella.
Yeah.
It is wild that fella anyone at 6'1" is able to make 60. What you say he made? 62.
He made 62. So that was a bit of a catch weight. Like it wasn't like
that makes no sense. Like.
Oh, dude, like, I don't know how he made it. The whole time I didn't think he was going to make weight, and then he made weight. And I remember even the weigh-ins when we did the face-offs, there's a picture, like the picture where we're both facing the camera. And he's up there, man. Like, and I'm like here, and we're both meant to be looking at the camera. So they kind of shifted it down a bit, I think. And I was like, oh. And then we're facing off each other. I'm just looking up like this.
Oh,
like, whoa.
Man. And what's going through your head when you're looking at someone that tall that you have to go in and fight?
At that time, so I've chatted to you about like kind of like my faith in
Yeah.
how my relationship with God prior to that. So that fight, I didn't treat it like that. And that fight, I felt so much pressure. That fight, in my head, I was like, I need to look at him as if I'm not scared. I need to like make him feel scared. I need to like all this kind of stuff, like put on this like, oh, I'm
Facade.
invincible type thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I stood in front of him and I was making him an enemy, and I was like, come on type thing. And then I stood in the cage with him, and for that first round, like I was in my shell. That like I look back at that fight, and there's a big learning curve from God for me about like everything I said I was gonna do and everything I put on for other people, and then like where I was actually on the inside, and I was like I was in a good place, like, and I was in my shell for the first round, and then it took me like I think it was after a knee. He hit me a flying knee. I broke my nose and like split my eye, and I saw blood coming down, and there's just loads of blood dripping. And I kind of asked myself the question. I was like, I'm in round 2 of this fight, and I'm getting my ass whooped. And I was like, nah, stuff this. And I was like, let's go for it. And then from there, I kind of like I completely came out of my shell, and I felt like I came back in this end of the second round. And then the third round, I like managed to get his back, and I like ran up the cage and like fell down, got his back, got a body triangle in, had the choke, and I was like, that's it, I'm gonna get the finish. And I couldn't get the finish for the entire third round, right? The entire third round, I had his back, and I couldn't finish him, right? And I remember feeling so disgusted that I lost, right? And I remember God teaching me through that. He was just like,
Humbled you.
yeah, oh, completely, man. And he was like, how are you treating him? Like, what would I have done if I had won? Like, would I have like, be like gone mad, shouted, roared, jumped on the cage and all this kind of stuff? And I was like, I know what it feels like to put everything in there and like, and still lose. And that's why when you know you're not in control type thing, like it's a real peace in that to like, yeah, I don't want to like, personally, if I win, I don't want to freaking go around shouting and roaring and jumping on the cage and shit, because like I've been that person on the floor, and like it's a freaking tough pill to swallow, and like if the other person doing that doesn't make it any better. So like I want to try and like have respect for who I'm fighting, like turn around and say good job, like, do you know what I mean, stand up, like be proud of it type thing.
And tell me, have you met any crazy people out in Australia so far? Any famous people, any fighters, or anyone that's made you stop and go, wow, that was a cool person?
I feel like my coach is one of those people, man. My coach just seems to be everything. Like he's been everywhere. Hey, he's the kind of like Australian coach for the Global MMA Association, I think it is, or something like that. But he's just a cool guy. Like we got a real cool relationship. His name is Stephen Walton. Yeah, he's just a cool coach, like good mentor, good friend. Like and then he's also, so he took me under his wing straight away, kind of like put me in line when I came in saying, oh, I want to fight. He was like, you want to fight? Like, okay, I want to see you training every single day. And I was like, every day? Like, I'm training like 3 days a week. I was like, but I'm smashing it. And he's like, no, I want to see you in every day. And like from that moment, I was like, oh, all right, okay, this dude's like, he's expecting a lot from me. I was like, he put me under the test, let me prove him wrong type thing. We just got in a real good relationship since then. He's like poured a lot into me. I've complete and utter trust in him. And he's a world-class coach, man. Like we have a girl in the gym. Her name's Courtney Martin, and she's a world champ. So she won at the international. I think it's the Global MMA Association or whatever it is. But she won that, and she had only been training like 18 months with Steve.
Whoa.
In MMA, and she's the world champ now, and she's in the gym, so she's a cool person. Steve's a cool person. Like yeah, man, it's a cool gym. It's a cool gym.
Nice.
Everyone that's in there, like there's a few boys that are in there, like Frank. He's one of my good mates, and his brother Ryan. They both fought on the card.
You have an Australian Frank now, so
yeah, and his nickname's Frank the Tank, which is freaking Frankie from back home's nicknames. Or like, it's just mad, man. It's just and like again, SBG Clonmel has a huge place in my heart, man. Like that gym was a freaking family for me. Helped me through a lot of crap, and like for me, leaving that was one of the hardest things I did. That was actually probably one of the biggest things, like leaving home and leaving SBG, even though it was only for like in my head for a year, and like having to accept not going back there, like the relationships and the friendships that and the family that I had in that gym, like I'm forever grateful for like calling for like all into me, like, and that helped me on that grind, like, and I wish them all the best. I hope that they're doing good, man. I really do. And then like walking into this, I never thought I'd find a gym like that again, like a family vibe like that. And then I walked into this one, and a cool little thing about it, I walked in and I was like, right, let's see what this gym's like. And there's a big mural at the very back. I don't know if you've seen that, but I used to put up my story a lot. It says, "We are all one." But at the back of the mural is Jesus with his hands open, right? From the Rio de Janeiro, like, statue of, like, Jiu-Jitsu, Brazil, right? But it's Jesus at the back on the wall. And I was like, this is the gym. This is the gym. And then it changed to Wolves Den. I got wolf tattoos and stuff. I was like, dude, yeah, it's just too many
Synchronicity,
things.
everything comes together.
Yeah.
That's sick, man. To just on that SBG Clonmel point, that is a particularly beautiful gym. The relationships, the setting that gym has created, what Colin has done for that gym, it's very unique. It's very, very unique. I've been to a few different gyms in Cork, and you walk in and there's a hostile environment. You're being eyeballed by everyone in there. They don't like you. You're a newbie, and they don't look to bring in newbies and go, nice one, here's a new person we can train up and we can build a friendship with. The gym, the jiu-jitsu gym I go to out in Dragon and Ballincollig, that's got that kind of real open, friendly, let's go guys, we're all one here. But SBG Clonmel is a very, very, very good gym, man. It's a beautiful place. Like the people, the way they get on with each other, the relationships that are bonded there. It's a real good gym, man. It is.
100%, man. It's something else, hey.
Do you follow James Smith?
James? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm not sure if I still do. I did for a while. 100%. Yeah.
He's an interesting dude, man. I kind of like him because there's no bullshit with him. Like, and he's
a good way of portraying things.
He does, yeah. I like him. Like,
on the table.
But you should try see if you can have a few sessions at jiu-jitsu up there, man.
Yeah.
Because he's training. You should go around Australia and train in the different gyms when total, like, sorry, again, going back to COVID, are you able to move anywhere within Australia without getting stopped?
When at the minute I'm not too sure, but like before the lockdown, like we were.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Well, if you get the opportunity, you should go around and train in all the different gyms because there's some big MMA stars in Australia and there's some big jiu-jitsu out there. James Smith's a cool dude. He's a cool dude. There's a good atmosphere around him as well.
Yeah. How's your jiu-jitsu going?
My jiu-jitsu is hit and miss as always. Like I only when I've been flirting in and out when, like, back when Colin was running man, what was it when I was back out in his farm? What was it called?
But the pit.
The pit. Thank you, Genie Mac. I had the forge in my head. I don't know where that came from. Sorry. The pit. Like, I was flirting with that. I was in there one week, not the next, and it was consistently like that. And even when he moved into Clonmel and became SBG, I was still in and out. And then I got into the Dragon down here, and I said, right, now I'm committing. I bought a gi off Sean. I was like, right, I'm going for it this time. And then, boom, lockdown came in, and once again, the jiu-jitsu kind of died. And so that's been my relationship with jiu-jitsu for the last couple of years. It's been stop, start. Yeah. But every time I go back, I feel a little bit more confident. I feel a little bit more grounded. I feel a little bit more knowledgeable. And I trained 2 weeks ago with I trained with a lot of non-nationals. And I trained with a lot of Polish fellas and a lot of Lithuanians, a lot of Russians. And like, they bring a special atmosphere to a fight setting. Yeah. It's gangster, man. It's real, just like, let's go. And I love it. I love that sort of adrenaline that fuels when you're rolling with these big, strong brutes. Yeah. And so I went training. He actually lives across the river from me in a real nice place. And they use the underground. There's an underground car park, and there's a corner of the underground car park that don't have any car parking space or anything. So they throw down mats, and they've actually trained there. That's a sick place to train.
That's savage.
He's calling it the underground. I think he just calls it the underground. And it's sick. But
That's nice, raw vibes.
yeah, real raw vibes because it's out.
Yeah.
It's technically outdoors. Like you've got the wind blowing in through the gaps in the walls. He's
Yeah.
got this speaker. It's all playing Polish music and it's concrete walls all around you, and concrete pillars, and it's man, it's sick.
Yeah.
But
legit.
that's kind of my jiu-jitsu at the minute. Is just kind of stop start. I do a bit with Gino around the house. We got mats. We clear space back out. Sweetman, he came down to me for 2 days last week. We had a savage 2 days. Did jiu-jitsu.
Nice.
Did 2 training sessions the first day. Did 1 training session the second day. We got our other housemate, Jer. We got him to try jiu-jitsu for the first time on Monday. So it's kind of, there's no real structure to it, but it's
still getting it in.
Still getting it in here and there. Still getting it in.
Yeah. And do you gym and stuff, or you, like, I know you're going for the 5Ks and stuff, or like?
I did a couple of 5Ks with her, and you see, I'm only really free on the weekends. Running is not my sport, man. I hate running.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it. But what I do have is I have the gymnastic rings, and so I've been
nice. They're good.
I have there's a pull-up bar. There's sort of like a pull-up bar place, outdoor gym essentially, just outside my apartment.
I've seen that. Yeah,
I've had it up in the store a few times. Yeah, and so I go down there and I do a bit of training there, but I haven't been down there now in about 2 weeks as well. And so like the night before last, I was doing all sort of calisthenic movements in my room, handstands, plyometric movements, all this kind of stuff. So I think I'm at this sort of weird stage where I'm experimenting and learning new things. Because one thing I had to get over is I think I realized now that a lot of my gym going at the beginning was ego driven, and was because I was probably very insecure about myself, and putting on muscle and being big was one way of boosting myself up.
Yeah.
But I kept getting injured. Like I have this reoccurring shoulder injury. I've done ankles, knees, all this crack. And so I kept on having like 6-7 months of good hard gymming. I'd get injured. I'd be out of the gym for 2-3 months. I'd lose all my size and I'd go straight back in. But these lockdowns now is probably like we're nearly a year into it. 11 months. We're pretty much a year into it. Like I've probably gone to the gym. Like I'd say probably 20 times I've lifted weights in that entire year period.
Yeah.
And so I'm probably at the smallest that I've ever been for many years. And psychologically it's played a lot with me, but I haven't let it stop the way I carry myself and the clothes I wear and stuff.
Good.
So I think there's a big growing maturity stage happening for me at the minute in terms of my ego and how I present myself and that kind of thing. So it's an unusual time, but it's good. It's good, man.
That's brilliant, man. I can relate to you when you talk about like the kind of like psychological effect of like you're chatting about being smaller. Like when you like, for me it's cutting weight, and it's like when I see my body and I see like my performance after a fight camp compared to, for example, a week after, like mentally when you're used to seeing something and whatever drives it, like, and then it changes for whatever rhyme or reason, whether it's an injury or whether it's like just like not having the same motives as before, like it does take a toll. And like you have complete control about like what you do with that. Like you don't necessarily have control about the thoughts or the things that come into your head, but it takes a toll. It has a mental effect. So for me, like I'll be at 61 kilos and I'll see myself shredded, like real lean. And then like for a week, even this past week, man, I've been looking in the mirror, like I might like see myself on my phone. I'm like, man, like I'm getting chub, like I'm putting on weight, like, and all this kind of stuff. And like, I need to keep telling myself, and like, obviously, like we're chatting at the very start about this, about like spiritual warfare as well. Like obviously anything that's going to make me feel like guilty or angry or sad or anything like that, like isn't going to be from God. Like, do you know what I mean? It's going to be like things in my head that'll separate me from God. And it's about like telling myself, like you said, for you, like it's a learning curve of like maturing and not being driven by ego and what you look like. For me at the minute, it's like very similar thing about not caring that I don't have freaking like shredded abs, or that I'm like putting on more fat, like losing a jawline and things like that, and so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, it means nothing. Like, do you know what I mean? It means nothing whether you're like that big, that small. Like, what does it actually mean? Like, so what? Type of an idea, you know.
But still, though, it's sick to be jacked.
100%, man. Stop. Like, well,
sick.
It's nice. Like at the end of a fight camp, man. Like it does feel good. Like it does feel good.
It does.
Freaking,
you feel boss.
feel powerful.
You do feel powerful, boy. You do feel powerful.
Yeah, cracking some pads, feel hard, feel fast.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Getting that snap in. It's lovely.
yeah,
It's real nice, man.
legit.
Kevin, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege talking to you, man. And I appreciate you opening up and being as honest with everything that you've talked about. Like well, I really wasn't expecting you to be so open, and it's beautiful for me to be able to have these conversations with you. I really, really, really appreciate you giving me your evening.
Dude, thank you so much for setting this up. Send me a text, ask me to do the podcast, man. Like, I'm absolutely honored. I think it's class that you have all this going. And yeah, man, it's been a pleasure to see you again, have a chat with you. It's been awesome, man. It's been too long. Like, I'd love to see you like in person in the future at some stage, man. But no, genuinely, thanks for having me.
When I come down to do a seminar in Australia, I might make time for you.
Yeah, you should, man. You literally should. Hey, you
Hey,
definitely should.
Kevin, my brother, I wish you all the very best. I'll be in touch with you about as your life develops and stuff, man. And I'm no doubt I'm going to get you on for another podcast. We'll do another big catch up and stuff. And brother, keep the faith, man. Keep strong. I really wish you the best for your relationship with Hannah and with everything that goes on there, man. If you ever need me for anything, just shoot me a text and let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Keep training. I hope that COVID begins to disappear pretty quick and the worst of the world gets back to normal too, man. But give your love to my to Kyle and to his family.
Oh, man.
And for everything, man, just well done and keep going, brother.
Dude, thank you so much, man. And to you, hey, send my love to everyone, all the family members, all the friends back home and everything, man. And cheers.
I will.
Yeah, send faith, man.
I will, Kevin.
Cheers, bro.
Thanks very much, bro.